Hi guys, I hope you're all doing well. This is Nara. If you are new to my channel, welcome, and I hope that this is somehow able to help you. And I am here today to talk about endometriosis. I've tried to film this a few times, but it ends up being ridiculously long. So I think what I'm going to do is break it up into little sections that will hopefully make more sense and be easier to navigate. And today I'm going to talk about my sort of experience dealing with what I believe is endometriosis. And I think this will be a good basis upon which to start talking about more specific things in future videos. Also, I'm like cooking in my car right now, but that's okay because I think it makes me have to keep this short. But all this random stuff I'm talking about is probably not keeping it short. It's okay, we're going to keep going. So, the reason I said what I think may be endometriosis is because I'm not diagnosed. So, let me give a background about this disease. Endometriosis is a disease that where tissue that is very similar but not the same as the tissue that should be existing inside the uterus starts to grow outside of the uterus. And this tissue is called it. So there's tissue in the uterus that is called endometrium, but tissue very similar to it, not exactly the same, starts growing outside of the uterus. So one of the hallmarks of this disease, and like the main thing especially, is that it causes massive amounts of pain. Okay, let's just start the car and turn on the AC. Like, what am I doing here? So the hallmark of this disease is the pain that it causes, and if in more advanced cases and in situations like where it's progressed more, it can cause infertility. So I will talk more specifically about these topics, such as like the locations it exists in inside the body, and you know, endometriosis and infertility. These are all things that I'll talk about in future videos. Just to preface all of this, I'm not a doctor, in case you couldn't tell, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not certified in like talking about this whatsoever, except in the sense that this is something that I deal with and I've done so much research on, and I'm not here to tell you what I'm saying is fact, but I'm just here to give you some information that I found in a format that I think is more easily accessible to women, such which is YouTube. I think that YouTube is a really great format to reach out to people. So that's why I want to do this here. So, so that's what endometriosis is. It can exist on various places inside your body, including like the pelvic region and the ovaries, in the bowels, so ovaries, uterus, bowels. It can exist on bladder. It can exist on the diaphragm. In very rare cases, it can exist on your lungs, which is crazy to even think about. So as you can imagine, when it's on a place like your bladder, it affects bladder habits. If it's on your bowels, it has symptoms like your bowels are not regular, among other things. Okay, so it can cause a lot of pain. Oh, this car's about to hit something. Nope, don't do that. Okay, they're moving it. It was a cart. All right, back to it. So it can cause a lot of pain during intercourse, among other things. I will put links in the down bar below of all the wonderful articles I've read that talk about this, and in each video that I do, I will probably have different different things linked that talk about different areas. So I'm not going to put every link down below. In this one, I'll put whatever is relevant. So moving on. I'm currently 25 years old. I started my period when I was 13, and I don't remember. I remember being uncomfortable, but when the first like 2 years when I started my period, I started when I was in 7th grade, and I remember being uncomfortable, and like I remember the second I had it in PE, and the next day I came to school and I was so excited to get my period. Like I always wanted it. I couldn't wait to like become a woman and all that stuff. So the next day I go to school, and I remember my band teacher sent me to the office, to the nurse, because he said like there's no color in my face and I looked so pale. And And so I went to the nurse, and I don't think I was feeling that bad, but she sent me home. And that was my first time dealing with my first period. So I think that was the start of it. But I remember, like, when I think back and I try to remember the pain, I feel like I start remembering when I was 15 in ninth grade. I remember being in my English class and sitting down in my chair, like with my feet up, like squatting on my chair like this. And I remember like having a lot of pain and being like, oh, ow. And I remember one of my friends, who I'm still friends with today, asking me like, are you okay? What's wrong? What's happening to you? And it would come and go, and it was like stabbing pains. And over the course of my high school years, the pain started getting worse. I often had to be pulled out of school, and I would never miss school because of it. Like, I wouldn't choose to not go to school because of it, because I didn't like it interfering with my life. And I also should mention this. I loved high school. I hated elementary and middle school. So when I got to high school and I had like such good friends and such a good time, I never wanted to miss it. Like, I loved going. So for me to have to go home, like, I would stay as long as I could until the pain was just like truly miserable and I had to go home. During this time, I started taking Advil. I hated taking it. I didn't like taking it because I felt like I was covering up a bigger problem. And I would just try to take it when I needed it, and I would wait till it would get so bad and then I'd take it, which would always happen. And so eventually, like towards the end of high school, I would take it. I would take it the first signs of pain, and even then, sometimes I would be like, I started my period. It's not horrible. Maybe I don't have to take my painkillers right now. And then, of course, like an hour later, it would be miserable, and I would be vomiting. I would be really dizzy and nauseous. I couldn't keep down the medicine because I was throwing up. I would be just like doubled over in pain. Take the medicine, try to nap with like my mom cuddling me or something. Like, keep in mind, I'm talking about like being 17, 18 years old, until I would fall asleep, the medicine would kick in, I would wake up and feel okay. um, the Advil stopped being that effective. I started having to take 2 pills instead of one, which still wasn't bad. It's 400 milligrams. But then it became less effective. Instead of helping in like a half hour, it started taking like an hour to help. And then instead of taking an hour to help, it started taking like an hour and a half to help. And then it would take like an hour and a half, but then it would only help for like an hour before it wore off. So it was just bad. And then, there were like very bad cases of I'd be on my period and it'd be like a really bad experience. Sometimes it was worse than other times, but I could always count on having a painful period, basically. So, I also, over this time, I started getting more pain prior to my period starting. So if normally I was just getting pain during my period, I started getting pain like 2 days before my period, and then I started getting pain maybe 3 days before my period. So the days of pain, the days that I was experiencing pain in a month increased. And the pain I was getting before my period, like the pre-cramps, weren't horrible. They weren't that bad. Like, I didn't have to take pills for them until about a couple of years ago. So the pain has been increasingly getting worse. And then last year, about a year and a half ago actually, I went to a doctor, a gynecologist, my first one, and I told her about my concerns, which was like the main reason I was going. I don't really go to doctors unless I'm dealing with something, and I was dealing with something. And I told her what I was having problems with, and she kind of like wrote me off, told me that I could either take birth control, which I said I wasn't interested in. So she said, okay, you could take naproxen. So she gave me a prescription for naproxen and told me you have dysmenorrhea, which just means painful period cramps. She said, you have dysmenorrhea. She didn't really even go into it. Like, I already knew what it was because every time I've been on my period, I'm doing research being like, why the fuck is this happening to me? So she didn't even talk about it. She just said, you have dysmenorrhea. It happens to some people. You're fine. Don't worry about it. And I could tell, I was like, okay, I'm not going to ask this bitch anything else, because clearly she's not here to help me. She's not listening to me. She didn't ask me, anything else. So I was just like this isn't someone I want to keep talking to. But I did start taking the naproxen because Advil wasn't doing shit, and I was having very, very bad periods that were keeping me from going to work and all this stuff. So I started taking naproxen, and it was beautiful. It helps so much. I start taking it like a couple of days before my period starts. And then I started having to take it a few days before my period started. And now I'm at a point where I'm taking naproxen sometimes for an entire week before ever starting my period. And then I have to still take it while I'm on my period for like 2 to 3 days. So about 10 days of a month, I'm taking 500 milligrams of naproxen twice a day. And oftentimes when I'm on my period, it's still not enough. Like, I'll be at work and it's bothering me, and I work with kids and I need to be active and I'm doing stuff all the time, and I can't be sitting in a chair like, ow, and I have a pretty high pain tolerance, and I will wait till the last moment when I need to do something. So to take care of it. So if I can go without taking painkillers, I will. But as you can imagine, I'm at a point where I can't do that. So I'll be at work and it's not enough, and I'll have to take extra strength Tylenol to help with whatever pain is left over, and it's ridiculous. So I'm not only taking extra like naproxen and sometimes Tylenol with it, I'm also using a heating pad. I'm taking I'm using essential oils that help with pain. I'm doing like all of this shit, and it's still not completely gone. So I started researching endometriosis a few months ago. I saw a different doctor. I told him, hey, I think I have this thing. And he was like, yeah, it's a possibility. You could take birth control, and I'm not pushing it on you. You don't have to take it, but I think it's the way to go, but I'm not pushing it on you. Or you could do surgery to diagnose it. He was definitely pushing the birth control. And I remember telling him, and this was about a month and a half ago, and I was like, if I take the birth control, because I know that would help with the symptoms, but if I take it, will it make and if I have endometriosis, will it make it go away? And he said, if you take it long enough. And I thought to myself, that's not an answer. And based on my research and based on scientific documents or scientific articles and research done by surgeons who are practicing gynecological medicine, who specialize in endometriosis, you can't cure it. Endometriosis does not go away with taking hormones. It could suppress the symptoms, but it's not making it go away. And so I started seeking out more help. I did a lot more research. I will include a lot of the stuff I've read down below. But that was basically my start into it. And the thing that really made me start looking at it as like, hey, this might be a thing I have, is I was listening to girl boss Lena Dunham, and I was listening to her podcast Women of the Hour, where in one of her episodes she brought in her gynecologist. Ooh, it's getting hot again. Whew. So she brings in her gynecologist, and Lena Dunham has endometriosis, and so she has an episode where she basically talks about gynecological things with her gynecologist, who's like this really cool chick, you can tell from listening to her. And then she talks about endometriosis and how having pain to that's extensive, missing school, missing work for pain, scheduling your life around this pain that you're experiencing every month is not normal. And I remember sitting there, and she was giving her like experiences with it, and I was thinking to myself, this sounds like me. This isn't normal. Like, I always read about it thinking, oh. Hey guys, so the video got cut off while the sound was messed up, so I just wanted to make a really quick outro. So I was basically saying that when I heard that, I just always thought, or when I had read about endo, I always thought, no, this can't be me, I can't have this disease. And it wasn't really until hearing Lena Dunham's podcast. You guys like all my spices back there? Could you tell them in my kitchen? But yeah, it wasn't until I heard her podcast where I was like, hey, wait a minute, this is just, another girl, a real person. And she has this thing. She's not like, she's sick with endo, but it's not horrible. And I thought to myself, maybe I do have it. Maybe this isn't totally unreal. So that's when I started doing a lot of my research and all that good stuff. Oh, someone's here, you guys. Hi, my puppy. What? My therapy. One of them. Hi. Ow! Oh, that hurt. All right, so, yeah, I was basically talking about that and about, ooh, you guys, that actually hurt. His nail went into my lip, but that's when I really started digging into it. That's when I found a doctor to go to, you know, the one that I didn't have good luck with, who kind of pushed a birth control. And then after that, that's when I started looking into specialists. So I will leave links down below to support groups, to websites with really good background information about endometriosis and symptoms and different things like that. So you could, if you're someone who thinks that they might have this and are curious about it, or if you know someone who has it and just want to know more about it, you can look into it. So please check those out. They will all be linked in the down bar below. And I will try to write a blog post. This was supposed to go up yesterday, which was Sunday, but it'll go up today on Monday since I accidentally lost some of the sound previously. And then on Wednesday I will be back with a new video that will be covering a different topic, and I can't remember what I said that would be about, but come back on Wednesday. There will be a new video up by 8 p.m. Okay, you guys? And yeah, that is about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please leave me questions down below. I love doing research, and I've researched this like mad, so I'd like to help with anything I can. If you have any questions, let me know in the down bar below, or in the comments below. Hope you guys have a beautiful day, and I will see you on Wednesday. Bye.